Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will visit the White House today. He's set to meet with President Trump and sign an agreement over America's access to rare Ukrainian minerals. Zelenskyy is also expected to ask the president for support against Russia going forward. And for more on that meeting, let's bring in senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Weijia, thanks for joining us. So what's in store for this meeting with Zelenskyy today?
Good morning, Michael. Good morning to everybody. It's great to be with you. So this could be a potentially awkward, intense meeting because of what we have seen play out in the past few weeks. Of course, we know that Trump has been negotiating separately with Vladimir Putin, with Russia, because he says he can bring an end to the war there, but has cut Zelenskyy out of the process along the way. And Zelenskyy has said that his country is not going to agree to any kind of peace deal if they are not directly involved. So today, it's really going to be a conversation about what's in it for Ukraine. If you're thinking about what Zelenskyy will bring to the table, he has made clear he wants security guarantees so Russia doesn't invade again. He has made clear he wants land back, and he wants to join NATO after the war, which President Trump has already said repeatedly is not going to happen out of this deal, at least. He did say yesterday that he thought Ukraine could get some of its land back. As for those security guarantees, Michael, Trump has been really resistant to offer anything beyond Americans. He said, look, we have a natural deterrent because there are going to be so many Americans over there digging these rare earth minerals that are going to be part of this deal that they certainly will talk about today. And as a result, Russia will not attack. But that is not enough for Volodymyr Zelenskyy. So this is all going to be really interesting, Michael, especially since, last week they traded some harsh words with Zelenskyy saying that Trump lives in a space of disinformation and Trump calling him a dictator. Well, yesterday, Trump seemed struck by his own words when he was asked about that dictator comment. He said, I don't believe I said that. But he did. And he also passed when a reporter asked if he would apologize for it. Michael?
And Weijia, I also want to ask about President Trump's tariffs, those tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. Why is he reviving the plan after this latest pause?
Well, he said, to give these countries an opportunity to show that they are taking steps to stop the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. And he posted on Truth Social, frankly, that he said these countries were not doing enough. You can see here, he said that they're still pouring in from Mexico and Canada at very high and unacceptable levels, which is why after this 1-month pause, he does plan to impose 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. He also announced that for China, he's going to add an additional 10% tariff on what was already 10%. And finally, he says in April, there will be a second reciprocal tariff imposition on all nations that currently have a fee on U.S. exports. All that to say, Michael, that economists are certainly watching this very closely. They are worried about how this could impact not only the U.S. economy, but the global economy as well, although Trump insists that this is a good thing for the U.S., for Americans, and that more things will be made in America.
All right, Weijia Jiang at the White House, thanks for joining us.